Yassas and welcome to Greek News Global. I'm John Mangos. In this bulletin, Prime Minister Mitsotakis calls on Turkey to remove threats. The island of Aegina declares a state of emergency. Rents in Greece to be legally forced above the table. And nominations open for Greek Woman of the Year. But first, to Greece, where Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis has urged Turkey to remove any threats to Greek-Turkish relations. Speaking in Ankara during talks with Turkish President Erdogan, Mr. Mitsotakis said, "It's time to remove any threat from our relations. If not now, when?" Erdogan, for his part, described the disputes in the Aegean and the Eastern Mediterranean as complex but not unsolvable if there's a willingness for dialogue. The two leaders made the remarks after the signing of a series of agreements as part of the 6th Supreme Council of Cooperation. 10 Greek ministers held separate bilateral meetings with their Turkish counterparts in different rooms, reflecting a broader push to advance sector-level cooperation alongside the leaders' private discussions. Still in Greece, and a senior officer of the Greek Armed Forces was taken into custody inside a military base following what authorities describe as clear evidence of criminal activity. While not officially confirmed, reports say the suspect is a high-ranking Air Force officer serving in a critical unit. The coordinated operation involved multiple state agencies and a military prosecutor after information gathered by Greece's National Intelligence Service. Officials say the officer allegedly collected and passed on classified military information, posing a direct threat to national security. The case is being treated as a top-level felony, carrying severe legal and professional consequences if proven. Celebrations for World Greek Language Day were held right across the Greek world this week, from Athens to Melbourne. But it was Sydney that made global history. Sydney became the first city in the world to officially mark the day, following UNESCO's formal recognition late last year, with Uzo Talk co-host Tom Skolarikis taking on the MC duties. The landmark event, hosted by the Consulate General of Greece in Sydney at the University of Sydney, brought together more than 300 people, including diplomats, politicians, academics, educators, students, and community leaders. The evening paid tribute to a language widely described as foundational to Western civilization, and cemented Sydney's place in history as the first to celebrate it on the world stage, as the Consul General of Greece in Sydney, Yorgos Skeberis, cheekily pointed out.
I don't want to spoil the fun of our friends in Melbourne, but Sydney is the first city in the world to celebrate the World Greek Language Day.
Sticking with World Greek Language Day, in a powerful moment for the Greek diaspora, Federal MP Steve Georgianos delivered part of his speech in Greek inside Australia's House of Representatives this month, marking World Greek Language Day. Switching seamlessly between English and Greek, Georgianos paid tribute to the language of Homer, democracy, and philosophy, with the full English translation officially recorded in Parliament. A proud moment not just for Adelaide's Greek community, but for Hellenism across Australia. From Athens to Canberra, the Greek language is alive, loud, and very much a part of the national story.
Therefore, Deputy Speaker, it is fitting for me to proceed in Greek for some of this speech with a full translation for Hansard a bit later on. Σήμερα είμαστε ενωμένοι όλοι σε όλον τον κόσμο για να γιορτάσουμε τις 9 Φεβρουαρίου ως Παγκόσμια ημέρα γλώσσας ελληνικής της UNESCO.
A group of Sydney-based Greek and Cypriot mates, known as the Happy Friday Supper Club, has raised more than $60,000 for the Steve Waugh Foundation, thanks to a memorable, if unorthodox, event. The close-knit group hosted its 16th annual awards gala at the establishment ballroom, drawing some 200 guests for a black tie event that blended friendship, humour and heartfelt generosity. But this was no ordinary formal dinner. Tom Skolarikis reports.
It was more than just a happy Friday for the Happy Friday Supper Club, with a group of lifelong friends raising over $60,000 for the Steve Waugh Foundation. The night had guests laughing so hard they could barely breathe as roast-style tributes took centre stage. Members rolled out a series of cheeky music video reenactments, playfully taking aim at each other in front of the more than 200 guests. Club President Peter Antoniou says the night perfectly captured what the Supper Club is all about.
I can't be more proud of what we're able to achieve. We're all sons and daughters of Greek and Cypriot immigrants, and I don't think it hit home as much to me as when one of the guests approached me and said, "Your father would be so incredibly proud of what you guys did tonight."
Greece is about to radically change the way rent is paid, with all payments in the future to be made only through bank transfer. The change will come into effect in April, with all payments to go to an account in the owner's name. The move is designed to increase transparency in the rental market. Tough penalties will come into play for non-compliance, with penalties affecting tax deductions, housing allowances and business expense claims. Under the new rules, the bank account must belong to the property owner and must be registered with the Independent Authority for Public Revenue. Payments to third-party accounts, including family members, lawyers or management companies, will no longer be recognised. The Greek government announced the measures are also intended to prevent undeclared payments and ensure tax deductions and housing benefits are correctly administered. Greek authorities have declared the island of Aegina in a state of emergency, following a sudden and severe failure in the undersea water pipeline that supplies the island. Aegina will remain under emergency status for the next 3 months. The decision will allow authorities to activate emergency response mechanisms and accelerate administrative and funding procedures needed to restore the damaged infrastructure. Residents have faced a severe shortage of drinking water for almost 2 months, forcing them to queue for bottled water. Locals have been openly critical of the handling of the crisis, saying the pipeline suffered the damage last December, but authorities failed to issue their first official announcement until a month later in January. Greece is pressing ahead with nearly €2 billion in major infrastructure projects, spearheading its latest economic push. Upgrades to the Athens Metro, the Northern Road axis of Crete, improvements to the port of Piraeus, and expanded rail links are all moving forward, aimed at strengthening transport, tourism and urban connectivity. Alongside the investments, the government plans to roll out 100 reforms across 24 sectors, targeting bureaucracy with digital tools and AI, while accelerating privatisations and tax cuts to drive investment. Officials say the mix of infrastructure spending and structural reform is designed to keep growth steady and to boost competitiveness. The European Union is facing resistance from Greece and Malta over its proposed sanctions package against Russia, particularly measures targeting Moscow's oil exports. The proposition is a plan to replace the existing $60 per barrel G7 price cap on Russian crude with a broader ban. This would prohibit EU-based companies from providing key maritime services, such as insurance, financing, shipping and related support for tankers carrying Russian oil, regardless of the price. Greece and Malta are the major holdouts, voicing strong concerns that the proposed rules could damage the European maritime sector, disrupt shipping operations and ultimately drive up energy costs for consumers. Greek traffic police have launched a sweeping crackdown on drink drivers across Greater Athens, carrying out more than 41,000 breath tests in just 4 days. Authorities say 41,689 drivers were tested during the blitz, with 282 caught over the legal alcohol limit. 9 of those were found to be heavily intoxicated, recording levels above 0.6 milligrams per litre. Police also issued 93 speeding fines. Under Greek law, the blood alcohol limit is 0.05 for private drivers and an even stricter 0.02 for professionals and newly licensed motorists. Officials say checks will continue as part of efforts to improve road safety. New tourism data from the Institute of the Greek Tourism Confederation, based on figures from the Bank of Greece, shows visitors to Greece are spending more per day despite staying for shorter periods. Regions, including Crete and the South Aegean, recorded some of the highest per-visitor spending, while Central Macedonia remained below the national average. Analysts say the trend points to a shift towards higher-value tourism, even as travel patterns continue to change. Greece has bid farewell to former Member of Parliament for Chania, Eleftherios Venizelos, who has died at the age of 102. Venizelos was widely respected for being a dedicated guardian of the vision of his grandfather of the same name, who continues to be revered as a legendary Greek statesman. Mr. Venizelos was the final descendant of the man who doubled Greece's territory, led it through the First World War, and shaped its modern identity. Elected MP for Chania in both 1952 and 1956, after politics, he steered his family into shipping, but his heart never strayed from his grandfather's ideals of liberalism and progress. Sporting news now, and from the Super Bowl stage to the Greek Orthodox community. Robbie Oots is a name now echoing well beyond Seattle. The Seahawks fullback was part of the franchise's championship roster in the 25-26 NFL season, marking a remarkable early milestone in his NFL career. Public records from St. Nectarios Greek Orthodox Church in Charlotte, North Carolina, list his parents, Robert Oots and Mia Belios Oots, among contributors to the parish's capital campaign, underscoring a connection to the Greek Orthodox community. From faith and family to football's biggest night, it's another example of the Greek diaspora presence on the world stage, this time under the brightest lights in sport. The achievement follows the appearance of Athens-born Kansas City Chiefs player George Karlaftis in the previous 3 Super Bowls. And in other sporting news, 21-year-old Greek-American athlete George Franks continues to make waves on the track by shattering long-standing records. He recently broke Greece's indoor 400-metre record, which had stood for 27 years, with a time of 46.16 seconds. Franks chooses to compete for Greece internationally, despite training in the United States. While most of his success has been at indoor meets, Franks is training for the US Outdoor Championships in July, where he hopes to put the world on notice that he is the fastest man over 400 metres. And finally, with International Women's Day approaching in March, nominations have opened for the Greek Herald's Woman of the Year Awards. This year's theme is Balance the Scales and highlights the need for fair, inclusive and accessible justice for all women and girls. This year's theme is Balance the Scales and highlights the need for fair, inclusive and accessible justice for all women and girls. There are 2 categories this year: Woman of the Year Award, open to those over the age of 30, and the Woman to Watch Award for those under 30. Both awards aim to highlight women who embody the spirit of Balance the Scales by recognising women who challenge barriers, inspire others, and make a meaningful contribution to the lives of those around them. Earlier, I spoke with the publisher of the Greek Herald, Dimitra Skelkos.
We've already had quite a few nominations and they're open until, I believe, the 26th of Feb. And then they will take it to our independent selection committee, which is Sophie Kotsis MP from New South Wales this year, Kat Theophanis MP from Victoria, and for our youth representative, Anastasia Mavridis, who's the chair of Neolea in South Australia. So it should be an interesting pick this year.
And that's it for this week's edition of Greek News Global. recorded on the 12th of February 2026. I'm John Mangos. Yasas ke nastekala.